Troy Geski's death on a plane bed in a Colorado mental hospital led to the American state banning the use of face-down restraint to subdue patients. But in England, in the 15 years since David Rocky Bennett died in similar circumstances, campaigners say there have been at least 13 restraint-related deaths involving mental health patients, and the time to ban the practice here is long overdue.
Face-down restraint is at best dehumanising and at worst life-threatening. It's time to put an end to face-down restraint. It should be a never event inside the NHS. We really don't want to see it.
Naomi Ball knows what it means to be pinned to the ground, face down, barely able to breathe. As a mental health patient, she's endured the procedure many times, most recently just a few months ago.
You're terrified anyway, and it just makes you feel even more scared. And you're supposed to be building up trust and that with the staff, but the way it's done quite often means that trust is broken completely.
Face-down restraint should only be employed as a last resort, but figures show wide variation in its use. In 2011, the procedure was not used at all by 4 English mental health trusts, while one trust in Northumberland used it over 900 times and another in Southampton over 800. A number of trusts were unable to provide figures. The minister responsible for mental health says the variation in the use of restraint is shocking, and he's demanding answers from the 2 trusts who between them account for almost half the use of face-down restraint.
I'm very interested in what Mind says about the idea of just banning face-down restraint. If that's possible, it should be done. 2 of the trusts involved use face-down restraint hundreds of times a year. I want them to address what appears to be a very considerable excessive use of restraint.
In a statement, the Northumberland Trust said it only uses the most proportionate response. The Southern Health Trust said the techniques are used to minimise discomfort and distress to patients and staff.
Knees down.
Face-down restraint is no longer used in Sheffield after the medical director of the local mental health trust there experienced the procedure for himself.
Pretty unpleasant, actually. Hard to breathe.
We have taken a very determined step to stop the use of face-down restraint throughout the trust, and it's not caused the problems that people thought it might. We've done less restraint, less seclusions.
Professor Kendall is currently reviewing official guidance on restraint and says his committee is likely now to consider whether an outright ban on face-down restraint should be introduced. Mark Easton, BBC News.